Yeah. Hello and welcome to KamenRider Blackman. Ah, crap, I forgot my water. I'll get it at some point. And today we will be looking at the KamenRider ZO Next Time Geiz Majesty movie. Woo! This is like my 4th or 5th take, and I'm trying to get it right. So let's just get into it. And so, this movie takes place after the final battle in Zio, where time has been reset. So, the movie begins with Geiz waking up from a dream of him and Omizio and his new continuing life as an aspiring judo champion. He attends high school with Sogo, Tsukuyomi, Wool, and Aura. Sogo, Geiz, and Tsukuyomi are preparing to take their college entrance exams, and Wool and Aura, I assume, are a grade below them. Assuming. Anywho, Aura actually has a crush on Geiz, and whenever Wool points that out, he gets hurt for it. Oh, and Schwartz is back too, but as a guidance counselor, and still manages to make that creepy. And now, of course, one person that I remember being my favorite character while watching this show, White Waz, is back, and he shows up to push Geiz into becoming a KamenRider. And so in the movie, sooner than later, Geiz competes in a judo tournament and ends up spraining his foot so bad that it assumingly ends his judo career. And now for one of the movie's highlights, which I will make once I get a cup of water. Be right back. One of the movie's highlights it's a tribute to the secondary writers of the franchise. So one at a time, the robotic minions from the show go after Geiz, and a previous secondary writer makes a cameo. Starting off with Birth, the secondary writer from O's, because he's Geiz's doctor. Next is Kaixa, because he was summoned by Dien. And yes, Kaito is in this movie, and I'll get to that in a little bit. The final cameo that actually further Geiz's becoming of a KamenRider is KamenRider Axel's. And once Axel gets into a fight 2 against 1, Geiz discovers his motivation to be a savior for others. Now, this movie likes to make layers, because we're getting layers of development for Geiz that we get to see of what he wants to be, and I'm sorry for the show, but I prefer to watch this much better because we know where it leads to for Geiz, while compared to Sogo, all he does is proclaim that he's going to be a king, and for one, we don't really see him do much to further that goal in the movie, and to compare it to Geiz, Sogo's dream of wanting to become a king just sounds nonsensical. I think it's because Geiz attributes the traits more than Sogo, who's just been throughout this entire time. And so, Geiz has become KamenRider Geiz, and it triggers his memories of the events of the show that are buried deep within him to sort of pop out, because, and I say buried deep within because this is a whole new timeline. And so, now that Geiz has activated his powers, White Wasp says fuck him and transforms into another Rider version of Dien. And he goes to absorb Geiz's powers, only to be saved by Kaito, and they flee. Now, it turns out that the actual savior that defeated Omizio was White Waz, as he needed Geiz to regain his powers to fully become powerful enough to stop him. And so White Waz is this movie's final boss, or at least final boss / main villain. Now, for Kaito's role in this, him and White Waz actually fought once, and he ended up getting his powers stolen. And since then, he's been following the real Waz to actually attempt to get his powers back. And I almost commented on why does White Waz has a Beyond driver, but then I remembered back in the show that he actually had a second one with him when he came back. So, one almost flew over my head. And to attempt to even... skipping ahead. Okay, yeah. The three of them, Geiz, Waz, and Kaito, they get back to another D-End, and Sogo and Tsukiyomi because they're in danger. And I don't know when Kaito did this, but he apparently stole White Waz's book where whatever he writes in it, it'll come true. It feels like a Deus Ex Machina version of the Death Note, but with only less death and more good shit happening, because Kaito writes in for Sogo and Tsukiyomi and to have their powers. And so, all four of the Zeo Riders transform to beat another DN. So, let's talk about Gates' movie form. Now, when I was watching this movie, 1 hour in, I pointed out two inconsistencies that the writers just, I'm going to say, didn't pay attention to. One, this is happening in the main universe of Kamen Rider. So when Kaito called for Kaixa, how is Kusaka still alive when he died back in Phase? There's a reason for why he was alive in the show, but this is a whole new timeline where he should be dead. Two, when Kaito gives Gates the secondary rider decade card to manifest into the Majesty Ride Watch, spoiler alert for ahead, Kaito gets his powers back afterwards, let me find my place. Oh yeah, Kaito gets his powers back afterwards, so how could Gates' Majesty get his Ride Watch without technically having all of the secondary riders' powers? So yeah, Gates' Majesty. Let's talk about that form. And this suit, it's still a bit much. Like, comparing it to Grand Zeo just looks fucking awful because it's literally, he looks like a walking trophy man. Like, in this, with Gates' Majesty, he's red and gold now. And he has literally ride watches all over him. As I think about the form now, and about how it looks too, and even when I look at it, I think it's still a bit much. But I don't know. This form, it does look better than Grand Zeo. Don't get me wrong there. But this is more in the middle, is all I'm saying. And so, what a contrast that the main rider is now the strongest, well, I guess of the main riders throughout the Heisei era. And Gates is the strongest the strongest of the secondary riders throughout the Heisei era. So, whoo, interesting. And with Gates Majesty, he can also do what Grand Zeo can do, so, yeah. And so, White Waz is beaten, Kaito gets his powers back, and so that White Waz doesn't pull this crap again, Waz eats him. I have no words for that.